Hey everybody. I wanted to do a video on panic attacks, anxiety, and a lot of people will know what agoraphobia is. They all kind of go together. So panic attacks, most of us are so aware, even if we've never experienced them, which I have, we know somebody who experiences them. The fight for flight response is actually everywhere. Even if you don't have panic attack disorder or, the chronic anxieties, everybody has experienced that fight for flight response of the body and the mind and the emotions. A lot of people use that, oh, well, this elephant came into the room and this is how I reacted. Should I run or should I fight? Right? That's where we're at. And in this time that we're living in, everybody should be able to relate to that. Now, some of us, and actually nowadays it's a lot of us, we experience a severe fight for flight response. Now, the symptoms, I will not say all of them, I'm sure, but I will do my best. A fear of, it all starts on the fear, and sometimes you're not even thinking of things particularly. But a lot of people, when I had panic attacks, said I was doing it to myself and I was thinking about them, and that's why I was creating them. I did never get any validation on the panic attack disorder from anybody. Nobody in my life at that time or those years or all those years understood it because they never felt it. So they were always saying it's your mind, you need to relax more, blah, 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 whatever. For those of you who are like me and have experienced it, the rapid breathing, the heart palpitations, the tachycardia from the heart, the extreme exhaustion after a panic attack. I could sleep for 3 days, literally. You get so beside yourself. Like for me, it was getting in a car, even short distances. I don't know, in my mind, I had to be close to home. And the more panic attacks you have, the less likely you are wanting to go out. You want to stay wherever it is you feel safe. Even though you're having panic attacks at home or wherever it is you feel safe, you feel that you can deal with them better. And it's usually because when you have a panic attack and you're around, like let's say in the grocery store, you really believe everybody knows you're having a panic attack, and you really think everybody's seeing what you're going through, but in reality, nobody knows what's going on because you have become the greatest hider of your issue, right? Because nobody's ever validated you on these panic attacks or the anxiety. Why can't you just, relax? Why can't you just chill out? So you tend to stay home. Well, that's where agoraphobia comes in. And it is like a dark black cloud that starts to hang over you. You don't want to even go out the front door at times. And sometimes you might be able to go out the front door, but you stay very close to home. People end up having to go to the grocery store for you or go pay your utility bills for you. You can't work because that means you would have to go out. A lot of people with agoraphobia will try to find a job that they can do at home, and those are very rare. I mean, I did, and I didn't find any. So what do you do next? You can't breathe. You feel like you got to get out. For me, I felt like there was a couple times where I had to pull over the car and, get out of the car and walk around, and I would touch plants, rocks. Some people would call that grounding. At the time, I didn't know that's what I was doing. Just, instinctively, this is what felt good to me. And there was quite a few times, and this is going to sound pretty severe to most, and if you've never experienced it, don't judge, because it's an atrocious feeling to have a panic attack. I would pick up big rocks and just want to pop my head to make it stop. So what is our resolution to this? Well, what we're told our resolution is, we're gonna put you in counseling and, you know, diagnose you with all these things. And where I went was for the poor folks, so we ended up in a group counseling, and the psychiatrist would see us all maybe once every 2 or 3 months, unless the medications weren't working properly, which for me they never did. And they just start giving you prescriptions, and that's where it all started for me, really. So many prescriptions that made me so tired I couldn't vacuum my house. I couldn't, you know, go out and play. I didn't have energy. But then after years of doing that, doing it the way that we're told to do it, I somehow managed to adapt. And that is the coolest thing, but the craziest thing. Humans adapt. And I found a way to adapt to being exhausted, and I still played. I still vacuumed. I allowed for zombie mode, and I would be just, you know, and get things done, right? My panic attacks lessened. I was exhausted. I stayed in my house. I had to have other people do things for me. I was very limited. I was trapped. So the reason I bring up panic attacks, severe anxiety, the severe anxiety where you're like this, you have to pull your car over, you're like, okay, the very beginning of all this diagnosis, one person said to me, I want you to get a big rubber band and put it on your wrist. And every time you start feeling a panic attack come on, I want you to pop your wrist as hard as you can. Well, that's supposed to get your mind to not think about the panic attack and think about the pain on the wrist. Okay, well, in some ways that makes some sense, right? Because once you realize I'm having a panic attack, your mind is concentrating on that panic attack. You didn't make it happen by thinking it, but now you know you're having one, so it just builds, right? So that makes sense up to a point. But what I would say is, going through that, why would you teach somebody to hurt themselves to stop something that they're not even doing to themselves, and that there is a way to fix it if you guys would stop doing all the medications and really research what it is that's making people have panic attack disorder, anxiety, that turns into agoraphobia. Okay, so yeah, there is a resolution. For me, it worked. Now, when I do my videos, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not telling you to not go see your doctor, because I still see my doctor. I've had him for years. I love him. He respects what I do. And actually, I think he's really proud of me. I'm not telling you to do this, okay? That would be my disclaimer. I am telling you this is what I did. This is what worked for me, okay? I found Dr.Morse on YouTube after 2-3 years of researching as much as I could, because I was an exhausted woman, right? And I found, what was his name? The guy that makes all the green drinks and was living raw and rode his bicycle in California. Yeah, I'm sure you guys already said his name. I can't remember it. Anyways, so that's where I started. And, you know, I was eating the organic peanut butters and the organic grains and all that. Was not dropping weight. Was not feeling better. My skin got better. I looked healthier. I looked more vibrant, obviously. But it wasn't fixing everything. The depression was atrocious, and along with all the other things that I'm going to touch in other videos. So here I am, still anxious. I could sleep for 3 or 4 days. I wasn't the person that I knew I could be, and I wasn't the person I wanted to be. I was trapped, always trapped. My panic attacks started when I was a little girl. And by the time I was 12, they got so bad that I would rock myself on a couch crying. And I really can't tell you what the adults thought, because they didn't do anything. They didn't ask me questions. They didn't say, are you okay? I don't know if they thought I was throwing a fit, but I would just cry and kind of like a whine, and I would shake and my hands would do this, you know. Every muscle in my body was tense, and I was just, it's like a pending doom. Like I felt like everything was just going to go black, and I was just going to fade away. I was going to die. I really thought that. So at 13, I had another one, and it was with my sister. And we were driving back from Barstow, California to Redlands, California, and it's a desert drive. I've lived mostly in California and the high desert. I don't care for the desert that much. I probably had some, I know I've had some really rough experiences in the desert, so that's obviously in my mind, emotion kind of stuff going on. But we were driving and I had something happen. Now I know it's called a panic attack. And I tried to jump out of the car on the freeway, and my sister had to pull me back in, and she pulled up to a gas station, and I ran into the bathroom and I said, "Get me ice." Again, instinctively, humans are awesome. Instinctively, she runs in, gets a cup of ice, brings it in, throws it in the sink, and I'm rubbing it all over my wrists, my head, the back of my neck. I'm getting my wrists and my hands real good. That will help so much in a panic attack if you get ice cubes and you just rub them around. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and you can look that up. It's fabulous. I didn't know why I was doing that, but instinctively, that's what I did. Pulled myself out. The rest of the way home, I was doing this, and I was so exhausted, I could not speak words. I was just speaking gibberish. My sister was going to become a nurse, and my brother was a nurse, so when we got to my grandmother's house, they both started looking in the medical dictionaries, and they believed I had a seizure. We never pursued it. Nobody ever thought anything else of it. And then at 15, I had little ones all the time. But I'm talking about the big whoppers, the ones where I thought I was going to die. At 15, I had to have a friend drive. I made her pull over, and we had to call an ambulance because my toes and hands and everything was like this. All of this was sticking out, all my veins and everything. I was hyperventilating so bad. And the doctor at that time never said anything about panic attacks or anxiety. And he said that my, oxygen level was fabulous and that I just needed to go home and rest. Okay, so you can see how this progresses. So sometimes getting a name for something does kind of help, right? I mean, at least you have something. Because I've always been the one that's had those, well, you're the 10% that has that, and we don't have an answer for it. So silly. So by the time I was 24 and I moved from California to Arkansas with my 2 kids and my dad, we didn't know anybody here, and I knew I had a problem. And even before I left California, I was seeing a counselor about the drive. I just knew I had problems being in cars for long drives. And she never said anything about panic attacks. She told me to try to think of other things. Like I was thinking these on, whatever. So what I did with my 2-year-old at the time is me and him colored. And when they got really bad, I would just really get into coloring. And like if I had to color hard or whatever, and I would work through them, not successfully. One of them was so bad I had to make my dad pull over. I had to go like out into the desert, and I had to like touch cactuses and like kind of pinprick myself. It was horrible, okay? Finally, here in Arkansas, I knew I needed help, so I started really pursuing it. And I did find a doctor, and he put me on a lot of drugs, and I thought, finally, because at least you feel a little bit more peace. People who suffer from panic attacks, they feel it every day. It is this constant, when is it going to happen again? When is it going to happen again? And if you've never had them, you're not going to understand really. All you can do is just be empathetic to them. Excuse that word. So I got on a bunch of drugs, sleepy, tired. You guys all know that. And there was no resolution. And over the years, my panic attack disorder turned into chronic anxiety, dysthymia, depression. Then they would go into chronic depression and all post-traumatic stress disorder I was diagnosed with. For good reason, but still, all these diagnoses. When you don't have a name for something, it's nice to have that name, right? But on the other hand, what are you guys going to do to help me get rid of it? How can we heal it? How can we fix it? Well, through my research of doing the green drinks and realizing that I was losing no weight, I was not feeling better, except everything looked better. I looked more vibrant and glowy, and people commented on that. Finally, one night, because I would go in my bathroom after leaving the gym, and I would do coffee enemas, trying everything to feel better. And I was laying on the bathroom floor and had my laptop, and I found Dr.Morse. and I started listening to him. And I'm a big discerner. I really watch everything. I watch the way you talk, the way you move, your eye contact. I look at your energy, everything, because it's all energy. Everything you do is energy. So Dr. Morse was sincere and truthful and straight up. And that's what I like. I like when people are straight up. You know, don't beat around the bush. Don't do your jargon talking. Just be who you are, right? I mean, that's how we relate to each other usually. So I got on Dr. Morse's protocol, and within 3 months, I started to feel better. They weren't gone. It wasn't over. But I started to feel better to the point where my son took the top off the Jeep, and I was sitting in the front seat, and we were driving, you know, here in Arkansas. I'm in the Ozark Mountains. It's beautiful here, by the way. And I'm looking down, and there's a cliff. And I'm just holding on to the bar and just looking over, you know, listening to Avenged Sevenfold with him, rocking out, going, oh my gosh, I actually felt free. I felt free for the first time in my life. And I was like, this is the most awesome thing. I'm like, Christopher, it must be awesome to always feel so free. And he just, you know, of course he doesn't get it. That's my son, the 19-year-old Chris. He just tripped on me. He's never seen me act like that. Then, you know, because even a couple years ago, I was still in the house a lot. So once a week, he'd take me for a drive like a little puppy dog. And he took me for a drive in his truck. And we're just driving down a pretty main road here in Arkansas. And I stuck my head out the window and like went half body out. Didn't care if a cop saw. And was just letting the wind blow. And my son drives like me. He drives kind of fast. But, you know, the wind was blowing in my hair, and I'm just sticking it. I felt so free and liberated that those moments kept happening. And I had to keep doing this. I had to push farther. I knew that I was going to get resolution finally. I was going to finally feel free and not trapped in my body, not trapped in my house. And I can't explain all of this to you. Usually people will write me after they've detoxed for a little while, and they're like, I feel so much better. I have energy. If they've suffered from panic attacks or just, you know, generalized anxiety, they're like, I don't feel that way anymore. Maybe every once in a while, but it's not every day. It's not all day. It's not this impending doom feeling all the time. And I'm just like, right on. You know, that's what it's about. We're here to learn and share. Learn and share. A lot of people don't want to share. You know, like you see all this technology and they didn't put it out there and share it for free and they died. And guess what? We don't get that technology. So it's the same thing. We have to share. We have to love each other and be compassionate. I make these videos because I want you to know I've been there. I totally understand what's going on with you. I might not have all the things that's going on with you, but I'm pretty sure that I've got one heck of a list that says I understand the majority of you. So if detox isn't the route you want to go, that's okay. Because you're here to make choices, and that's the whole game here, making choices. If you choose to not live that way anymore, you will have to change your diet and programming in the mind that you have to eat all that food, right? You have to eat all those crazy things, which we talk about all the time. But I wanted to share my panic attacks and anxiety and agoraphobia with you so that you understand I do know where you're coming from. If you have any questions, you can find me on Facebook, Bridie's Wellness and Detox. I'm going to be working on a website here real soon. And, you know, I'm here for you guys. And there is a solution to the problem, okay? And you're not alone. And you can talk to me about anything, okay? All right, you guys have a great day.